to Green Hat Gardening. We've had some pretty excessive heat. It's 82 degrees outside right now at 9 in the morning, and the heat index is already close to 100, even under cloudy skies. So no hat. I'm trying to keep a little cooler, and that thing keeps you warm. Lots of things going on in the garden. So let's go see it. This weather is very atypical for June that we've had, and it's taking the toll on the garden for sure. I've been pulling the weeds out of the strawberries, and they are not in terribly good shape. Without crabgrass, with crabgrass is sort of fighting a losing battle here. Same way with the blueberries. It's been hard to keep them wet enough for some reason, and I'm losing a lot of the blueberries. Well, I feel like I am. The biggest shrub there, I think, is completely dead now. I haven't seen any regrowth out of it. Getting some hints of new growth here and there out of some other existing bushes. But I'm just trying to keep them as wet as I can, but it's hard when it gets this hot. And crabgrass everywhere. I don't know why it's so prolific this year. The banana peppers, on the other hand, seem to be enjoying it. It's just absolutely amazing banana pepper crop. I want to come out here and harvest this. It's maybe a different video. I'll probably spend, look at all that. 10 minutes just harvesting the banana peppers. I don't know. The grapes, I still have not found time to spray, unfortunately, and we have lost quite a bit of the grape crop. It is not going to be the bumper year that I was expecting, but there's still some hope that we may have something out of it. I just have to get them sprayed. The Japanese beetles have moved in and started doing their thing. Unfortunately, there's little I can do about that right now. I made the decision to turn this into a pollinator bed. I may have already mentioned that in the video, I'm not sure. I had given some thought to moving the tomatoes that are struggling in the buckets to here, but this isn't enough space. So they will remain in the buckets, and I'll figure that out. Maybe a different watering system, I don't know. Maybe something shaded. But this, I'm going to get some wildflowers planted here, mostly just zinnias, I think, this year, just because I enjoy the blooms. They're just lovely. I love zinnias. It is a joy to just walk in the garden and see all the zinnias and the cosmos. These just come up freely from last year. Every single one of these little zinnias have come up freely from last year. And I got a lot of garden maintenance to do. There's a path through here, as you can't tell it. And I got to be careful. I don't want to pull up the zinnias while I'm pulling up the smartweed. Smartweed is a pain in the butt. The corn has grossly underperformed. I planted 75 seeds, and we only had about a 30% germination rate, if that. It just did not do well. So I don't have any other use for this space at the moment. So I'm just gonna let the corn continue to grow, and we'll see if anything comes of it here by the end of the year. I've got another packet that I could plant, but I'm really kind of hesitant to do that just because it's not doing anything. The bare root raspberries did nothing. They completely died despite me watering them every single day. I'm disappointed about that. I was hoping to get some of these going again this year, but I don't think that's going to be. Literally just broke off. I don't think that's going to be feasible. The mulberries, on the other hand, have taken off, putting out lots of little new growth. That one more so than this one. I still think for now I'm going to maintain them in these pots until I can find a permanent home for them. I've given some thought to moving the blueberries, or thinning some of the blueberries that are closer to the apple trees to give both of them a little more space, and moving some of the blueberries back here. I could really reasonably only fit 2 or 3, I guess, in this space, but I'm unsure now, especially with the raspberries dying. I kind of have the room. The carrots have been an absolute no-go. This is the second time I've tried to grow carrots and get them to germinate, and there's just nothing. I can't keep the soil wet enough, or something, but I planted way more seed than I needed to for this thing, and not a single thing has sprouted. So I'm going to reuse this soil somewhere, somehow. It can just sit in the bags for now, I guess. We're getting some growth, finally. Had some blooms. I missed photographing them on the gourds. These will be the birdhouse gourds. And the other little ones, that's kind of the funky looking ones, something's chewing on them a little bit in this pot. I haven't discovered it. And they're starting to grow fairly well over here on this side of things. So I may, if nothing else, can move this and move that away from the tomatoes. Tomatoes are certainly producing, but I'm getting blossom end rot. I'm going to have to buy something with some calcium in it. That may be an effect of me growing them in buckets like this, I'm unsure. I've never really had much of an issue with that before. They're staying a little better hydrated just because I really upped the amount of water that I'm putting on them. I've debated putting plant saucers underneath to hold the water as it drains out the bottom. And I have a feeling they're already root bound at this point, and that's part of my problem. The Cherokee purples are ready to pick, I believe. These are good enough. At this point, they're ready to pick. There's not a lot of them. See, there's another one that we're starting with the blossom end rot or something going on here. They're a bit soft, which is odd. I don't like that. I don't know what's the cause of that, but all of them, even the green ones, seem a little bit, they're not firm like I feel they should be. Okra, well, we have some okra blooming. And we have some okra pods. It's the sneaky thing about okra. Look how small this plant is. I mean, we're not even talking a foot tall. We already got okra probably ready to pick on that one. Okra ready to pick on that one. It's already producing here. So if all of these pan out, this will be a really good summer with okra. Again, I've got issues with the crabgrass here and the lamb's quarters. It's just too much. There's been no start yet, or no further progress on the compost pile. I have a little bit of a concern. There's a yellow jacket nest that started over here that I need to get rid of. I feel it's too close to where I'm working with a lot of things, and I don't need stung, and I don't need our pup need stung either, so I've got to figure out how to take care of that. And I've got a lot of pots full of things that I plan on putting in the compost pile, and I can't quite do that with the yellow jacket nest right there. So bell peppers, I have not staked the bell peppers, and I need to. They're still producing, as you can see. The only problem is when you stake them up, then they're kind of growing funky sideways. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to mitigate this, or find some middle ground, because they're too crowded, and that's becoming a problem. I don't feel like I planted them any thicker than I ever have, but yeah, they're too crowded. It doesn't help that we've got what I believe is a Roma tomato, possibly. It's either a Roma or it's cherries. I haven't decided which yet. It hasn't gotten ripe. The fruit looks funny shaped to be cherry tomatoes, but it has that clustering type that kind of looks like a cherry tomato. And there were never any tomatoes planted in this side of the garden at all, so that's unusual. The hot peppers, look at the cayenne. We've got a load of cayenne to pick. I just love picking these things. I don't know what we're going to use them in. Maybe some chili. Still nothing quite ready with the habaneros. They're still just kind of growing along, and I'm just letting them do their thing. They perhaps need a little more water than what I'm giving them. The jalapenos are kind of lagging behind everything else in terms of growth and production, but we've got a few on here that might be ready to pick soon. I sort of skipped over the squash, but the squash, the ones that survived, we had two that died off, but we have our first little squash. That's the first squash I've ever grown, so that's coming along good. That should be delicious. The herb gardens were a complete failure this year, trying to grow them by seed. I don't know if I started them too late or it was too hot. But both these, the thyme, the oregano, and the basil. Basil sprouted, but the sprouts aren't getting any taller than that and they're dying off. So I'll take a different approach to that next year and just use this soil elsewhere.